Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. It's me Hijab Upworkwali and I'm the student of Rehan School Karangi campus. So today's we have this amazing guest whose name is Mr. Bob Choat. So let's go and talk to him and conversation about his life journey. So hello, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And how is it there today? I know it's Friday night there in Pakistan.
Yeah, not too night, but here is 7:30 p.m. and everything is going perfect.
Good.
Okay. Okay, so before any question, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. People see me. You see my title, Dr. Bob Choat, the Transformational Grand Master, and people have asked me, "How did you come up with that name?" And so I work with people in terms of transformations and everything, and helping to become the best that they could be. And as far as the Grand Master, I kind of drew that out of the martial arts. I've been in martial arts since I was a little boy, and now I'm 73 years old, so I'm older and been practicing martial arts. So grandmaster, they have like different levels in terms of like you get like the beginner, then you get into the black belt levels, and you master level, and then grandmaster is like the ultimate. So, and I practice a lot of different martial arts, and my life journey actually started, like I said, with the martial arts, and I've been through a lot and studying a lot of different areas. I I, I did serve in the United States Marine Corps for about 8 years, and then I was with the Los Angeles Police Department for about 5 years, and I started like multiple businesses and so forth, and done all kinds of interesting kind of work. I had an advertising and marketing firm in the 1990s, and then I I sold it. I retired for 6 months, and then ended up going back to school to get my uh, master's in psychology, then also later my PhDs in both clinical psychology and neuropsychology. And I like to learn. I have, like I said, two PhDs, three master's degrees, five bachelor's degrees, and I continue to learn in a lot of different areas. And I'm kind of like like I'm an older guy, but like in a younger mindset, always curious, always wanting to learn. And my whole life journey has always been about curiosity. I want to know in order for me to be able to grow. And I think that's important when I think about like what I've done, and curiosity being the primary thing, is that everybody should always be curious their whole life, always have that sense of wonder. Like a little kid is always curious and asking a lot of questions. We should be doing that as we go through life. You should be doing it as a teenager. You should be doing it as a young adult, middle-aged adult, older adult. Always be curious, because when you do that, you're going to continue to grow, and and you won't be as old when you get older, and you'll always have that young mind, that curious mind, that sense of wonder. So it's been a fun journey so far.
Okay, thank you so much for your introduction. So, my first question from you: how has your martial arts journey influenced the way you approach conflict in everyday life?
Yeah, so this kind of even started when I was younger, and dealing with a lot of the kind of things that I had to deal with, especially like back in those days, being in the United States and being half Japanese. My mom came from Japan. She was an immigrant from Japan, having met my father when he was in the U.S. Army. And uh, when I first started studying the martial arts, and it was my mom was my first teacher when I was about 18 months old. So I had not even been walking that long, and I was already starting to put a stick in my hand and doing kendo and everything. And then um, having like studying all the different martial arts taught me about how to become more disciplined and more focused, which is very important for what we have to deal with a lot of areas in life. And it taught me to be having that a spirit of a warrior, of a fighter when it's necessary. But even more important, when it taught me that I don't need to fight all the time. Instead of, like, a lot of people get really aggressive, it told me to back down, which is very important. And I apply that to this day, the discipline part of it and everything like that. And it helped me in my journey through playing sports, to studies, and even going into the military, and then also as a police officer and business and so forth. But it's helped me in every area of my life.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. So, my another question from you: what core value did you carry from your time in the Marine Corps that still shape your decisions today? Yes.
Okay, so the Marine Corps is an interesting military branch with here in the United States, and I know that other countries have a version of a Marine Corps, and we're known for discipline. We're known for having, like, even first going into the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps boot camp is considered the hardest boot camp of all the military branches here in the United States. And one of the primary things that the Marines teach is that of what's called the esprit de corps, or like the spirit. We have a thing called also semper fidelis, so always faithful, always being faithful to um, to the Marines, to the protection of the United States, and serving the U.S. Constitution primary. But but going even beyond that, because I was also in Marine Recon, Force Recon, and whenever I face challenges, I go back to the primary thoughts. So if I come across a challenge, I would be able to look at the challenge, uh, adapt to the challenge, overcome the challenge through, and I would improvise, continue to improvise. And how's that helped me today? So whenever I face challenges today, I can go back to that. Yes, it's a challenge, but what can I do to overcome it? How can I improvise? There's things like, even like in software development, uh, there's this thing called agile, and agile's been around um, since the concept since about uh, uh, 2000, but a lot of people in the software industry are using it. And basically, it's just being flexible to any circumstance. So just because maybe you make a mistake, well, mistakes happen all the time. Should never look at the mistake as bad. You make an adjustment. So what did I learn from this? How can I move forward? How can I reach my next mission? And everything is not, so there's going to be chaos and all this kind of stuff. But how can I overcome those kind of challenges? And the same thing, like with you in school. I'm sure that, like what you're doing right now, you've had a lot of challenges, right? But you have to, like, make adjustments. And then when you can make those little bit of adjustments, instead of like being focused like this, you can go here, you can go here, like those kind of things. That's what I learned from the Marines.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. So, my another question from you: as an NLP master trainer, how do you distinguish between manipulation and empowerment through language?
Yeah, so this is interesting, because a lot of people who get into NLP, and I've seen this utilized a lot, all they want to do is manipulate people. They want to use the power of language to be able to go out there and I think influence is not so bad if it's for a positive reason. But when they utilize um, the manipulation part, that's when I say no. I see a lot of um, lot of young guys want to use it to try to manipulate women and girls and everything like that. And I said, no, you're not going to use it for that way. Whereas when you're using language, when you're using language to empower other people, that's completely different. So I would suggest that um, when you get into like empowering yourself, because it's not just empowering other people, but you can also empower yourself. And how you use language is going to be very, very important, and how you see stuff. So, for example, I would like with myself, if I have a disempowering language that I continue to tell myself, and a lot of people have the self talk and everything like that. And so you want to like, and there's other techniques that I combine with NLP, like from cognitive behavioral therapy and everything like that. So if I have a thought that's disempowering, I would automatically stop it, just doing my fingers like that, or do a clap. And then I would see a situation, reframe it. So if the situation where I feel disempowered, I would look at it, take an NLP technique of dissociation, move it away from me, and look at it, uh, what that thought is for its reality. And if it's like a trigger on the outside that, or an anchor that created this thought, I can either shrink it and toss it away. I can have it replaced using what's called a swish pattern, replaced with something more powerful, more positive, where the old one is now um, being knocked away, and the other one pops up, and that now becomes my forefront. But I want to base it on the trigger that previously happened. Replace it with something more powerful. So I can use swish pattern. I can do different kinds of anchoring techniques and things like that. But more important, the language that we tell ourselves uh, will determine, in fact, where we go. But you don't want to use language to manipulate other people. You can use it to influence. That's different versus manipulation. Influencing is you're doing it, and 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 maybe even for something more positive. And by the way, NLP, language manipulation, is not something that's new. It's not something that was even established in NLP. It's been around for a long time. And as far as the manipulation part of it, of language and communication, uh, in the ancient days of Greece, they had um, these philosophers called sophists. So sophists, they were around the same time as well, even before Socrates was around. So the sophists would use the art of rhetoric. So rhetoric is use of language to manipulate people. They would say influencing, but they do it to try to gain wealth and all these other kind of things, which is not very what I call what a philosopher should do in terms of that way. But they used language back then, and but Socrates changed it, and then Aristotle also changed the art of rhetoric to make it more positive, and so influencing versus uh, manipulation. So you have both of those differences and everything.
Okay, so thank you so much for your answer. My another question from you. Can you tell me that what was your first aha moment in neuroscience that changed how you see the human world?
Got it. Yeah. So I actually had a lot of aha moments when I started looking into neuroscience and how our brains operate. Typically, because I've also like looked at like a lot of self-help people, and the way they say how the brain works and everything. And when I started studying neuroscience, and one of the things that I remember from the self-help is that a lot of self-help authors, especially like if you go back 20, 30 years ago, they would say that we only use X amount of our brain. We only use 5% or 10% or 25% of our brain, like that. And when I started looking into neuroscience, and it turns out that neuroscience, we use 100% of our brain. We don't use 100% of our brain effectively, for given circumstances, we can change that. And when I learned about that, I said, everything I thought I knew was completely wrong, especially if I go back 30 years ago. It was completely wrong on how the brain operates. So um, neuroscience continues to advance, and I've learned lot of other things, but that we only use X amount of our brain has always been false. But we just I think a lot of older people who were in neuroscience, they understood that because and then when fMRI came in and they looked at the brains that were continue to use it, but that old thing uh, was completely wrong. So that's my first aha moment. I actually had multiple aha moments and discovering new things uh, about our brain. There's another one, like when we make decisions, and because I'm going to add on to this because I'm really into neuroscience. When we make decisions, we think we're making decisions now. We think we're making decisions in a moment. Even like what I'm saying right now, I'm thinking that I'm saying it based on right now, and it's not true. I'm making a decision based on something that happened in the past, and there's a thing in neuroscience which has been more recent. It's called predictive processing, also known as predictive coding. And basically what that is that we will say something, we'll make a choice or a decision based on past experiences, and it gets processed into our body. And and so we may have a feeling that we will let will create that that emotion, for example, and emotions will come out and take an action. Another thing is that if you've been doing something um, enough times, again, I said based on your past experience, if you've been doing something on a regular basis, like you know about baseball, you've seen baseball, right? You know, baseball with the pitcher and a ball. So in sports, so in baseball, a lot of places around the world play baseball, and so a baseball player, the person hitting the ball with a bat, if they're at the beginner level and and a pitcher throws a ball, they're not going to be very good at trying to hit the ball until they get better. A professional baseball player, they're much better because they have more experiences. So what they're doing is they're predicting where the ball's going to go based on their experiences. So we're continually predicting on what's going to happen. We predict what we're going to say based on what somebody said to us, and prediction is happening all the time. So that's the way predictive coding or predictive processing works in the brain, and and yeah, so that was another aha moment I had a few years ago when I started looking into that area of neuroscience, and I continue to learn. I continue like all these different things. It's just been a joy learning about mirror neurons, which is years ago, and and different kind of things. We're continuing learning, exploring this up in our brain that we still don't know a lot about. We're still like at the kindergarten level of learning about the brain. Just like I think we know more about the universe than we know about what's inside of our own bodies, inside of our own brain. So we're at the kindergarten level right now. So that's where I'm at. No matter how much I'm studying, I want to go back to school and learn more in terms about brain studies. And I have so many books that I read and looking at a lot of research papers when it comes to neuroscience.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. So, my another question from you: being a polymath, how do you balance the pursuit of depth with the excitement of depth?
Yeah. So I love learning a lot of things, and and being a polymath is part of that. Again, I have a lot of college degrees in a lot of different areas. I have a master's in business, I have a master's in leadership, a master's in psychology, and my PhDs. I've been to law school. I've studied physics. I have a bachelor's in physics as well, a bachelor's in um, in law enforcement, and and then also my martial arts training and everything. So how do I like go like from the deep part? So one of the things that for me, it's about focus. So when I'm studying, like if I'm going and studying physics, I'm going to go as deep as I can in terms of physics or neuroscience or psychology or at that moment. I'm not going to try to like, okay, I'm going to read um, neuroscience right now and then go to what we're reading this subject and everything. I I I divide up my time so I can stay focused. If I'm going to do my business, I'm going to stay focused on that and just go deep and learn as much as I can. But then I learn what is the connection between everything. So for me, I now use systems thinking. So what is the connection that affects everything else? It's like a large system. So you have small systems within large systems. So now I'm getting like with systems thinking, you can imagine like a spider web. A spider web is connected to all these different things. And and what will affect one part of the system here will affect all the way down here. So when I look at all these different subjects, the breadth of my knowledge, I look and how can I connect each one? And then from there, what I do, I like if somebody asks me a question, how does um like tell me more about this area. Now I can have a relationship, maybe it's something that they know, maybe it's something in sports, and I can say there's a connection in sports that's the same way. There's a connection in business that's the same way. And like with in neuroscience, there's an easy connection between neuroscience and psychology. And there's already like I studied neuropsychology, so they've already connected that. But there's also been connections with neuroscience and business, connections in neuroscience in sports, connections in neuroscience and in school, like being back in school and all this kind of stuff. Psychology is all these different connections, and business connects. So there's this multi connection that I see all the time, and and once I learn that and how I can make adjustments where one part of the system will affect another part of the system, uh, it's become much easier for me to learn the breadth and the depth because I get excited. And I have a lot of books. I have almost 13,000 books in my personal library, which is considered a pretty good size, for, especially for like a home library. And and I continue wanting to learn. The problem for me is that the more I learn, the more I discover what I don't know, which becomes like, okay, I don't know enough, but I can still take action. I can still do this stuff, build businesses and those kind of things while I continue to learn. I wish I can be like reaching 1,000 years old. Then I can like continue to learn and more. And but I'm going to leave that to like people like you, the younger people, because you're going to be taking the next steps and like with artificial intelligence and and new technologies, all these different things. I'm excited for the world of the future, for the younger people. And I wish I could go and like, okay, Bob, you can now be like a teenager again. Then you can go through all this kind of stuff. But I'm not a teenager, and that's not going to happen. But I can now imagine like what you guys are going to be able to do. I look at systems thinking and now the interconnection between what happened in the past and going into the future and all the developments and everything that's happened. Yeah, so that's exciting for me. I just, oh gosh, I wish I could just follow all the younger people going through that.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time and thank you so much for sharing some amazing knowledge with us and with my viewers.
Thank you.
Okay, so viewers, I hope you like it. So lastly, I want to invite you my school when you come in Pakistan. So please visit our school, Rehan School, Kurangi campus.
That would be a lot of fun. I would enjoy visiting your school. I mean, that's like excitement for me.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Take care. Bye now.